No Raisin. Today we'll be discussing Season 4, Episode 11, Where No Fan Has Gone Before. My name is Michelle Burlingame. With me are Tommy Roulette.
How's it going?
Pete Woodward.
That's me.
And to my left is our guest, Bobby Consiglio.
How are you?
Welcome to the show.
Thanks.
You know, we literally just met, and I think Tom and I can both say we know absolutely nothing about you.
Oh, okay.
So, we'll start with the stock question.
Usually my reputation precedes me, but I guess not.
You know, we're old, me especially. So whatever you've done that you think is important, I was probably just like I was well ahead of it and not paying attention.
No, nothing important really.
Something we intermittently ask guests is, what is your relationship to Futurama as a thing? How did you come to be into it? What kind of fan are you? What's your history with the show?
I think it's I'm right in the age group, you know, like I guess 1999 is when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously I grew up watching The Simpsons, but I graduated high school in 2000, so that's obviously, you know, perfect for the time frame of when, you know, where there are people watching.
So you just like rolled right from The Simpsons into it and then onward?
Yeah, I mean, I've probably seen a fair amount of the episodes, but I wouldn't say that I seek it out and watch it regularly. But if it's on, I mean, I've sat there and watched 3 or 4 episodes in a row, no problem, in the middle of the night.
You enjoy it.
It'll suck you in, and then all of a sudden it's, wait, what?
The sun's up.
Oh, yeah. Oh, shit. It's like I was frozen for 8 hours. So the Jumbotron this week, it looked like a dog and a cat having a knife fight.
Yeah.
What was it called? His and Makeup.
His
and Makeup. His and
Hiss.
Makeup.
That's
His.
that's
His.
His and makeup.
that's been on before, right? That sounds familiar.
Yes.
Yet another Merry Melodies. Are they all going to be Merry Melodies from here on out, or do we ever get anything
I
else?
don't know. Probably. I like to be surprised with the cartoon because I never looked them up before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, like, every time we watch it, I just, like, I
Ooh.
see it and then I look at what it is.
And then
But-
it just goes off the
Yeah.
rails from there. I mean, we had, I think it was last week, we had a pretty extensive discussion about cockfighting. I mean, I could get behind dogs and cats having knife fights too, where like you taped switchblades to their paws or something instead of claws, and then they like, you know, do you think that would? I just watched Logan last night, and that kind of had that sort of thing to it too, when she had like the footsie claws.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So like taping knives to cats and dogs' paws and then letting them fight might be kind of cool.
No.
Cats don't
No.
need knives.
Cats already have knives built
Yes.
into their
I
hands.
know they already have
Paws.
them. I know they already have them. I'm just saying, like, it. You know, by that logic, they shouldn't have needed like a butcher cleaver and a chef's knife in this cartoon
Right,
either. But
Maybe that cat
cartoons-
was declawed. In that case,
I
it
don't
would
think
be.
they did that in the 30s. Like, I think declawing a cat in the 30s meant cutting off its entire paw.
Maybe. I don't know.
Like,
So would you say it's a pretty good idea that cats and dogs don't have opposable thumbs so they can't pick up knives and, like,
Yeah.
you know, murder us?
You'd
and
have to
things like
tape
that?
it up.
number one,
'Cause if they had thumbs, that would happen, you know?
I have an ongoing thing with cats. They don't use the claws to really scratch people. At least in this house, they use it to scratch furniture, and their primary mode of attack is through vomit. And it's just like they like to throw up on shit, especially in front of me while they're looking at me.
Oh.
And it's just maddening.
What are you feeding your cats?
I don't know. They're my wife's cats.
Huh.
It's food. It's not like she's giving them asbestos or something. It's just garbage. But this runs. I didn't really know anything about this episode going into it, and it starts right away with the Shatner log.
Yes.
Which did they ever so? I think Nimoy's been on the show before.
Yes.
But this is the first actual appearance of George Takei, right? Because they'd had someone on before that.
It was Billy West
think
before,
Yeah.
so,
I think.
yeah.
Yeah. I believe it's the first time that all of them have been on there.
No, Nichelle Nichols was on before.
No, Oh, right. Yeah.
She's in the vice presidential
I don't know why I
super
always think
squad or
that was,
whatever.
that one's later.
No, it was earlier.
I
because
know. Yeah. That was the first.
She was the first actual cast member to be on.
It was an anthology of interest, the Fry story, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the first anthology of interest.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I just thought it was interesting right off the bat that they started bringing in the heavy hitters, but the fact that they were all kind of reunited for this court-martial thing. But the thing, Forbidden Planet Omega 3, that just seemed kind of lazy,
Yeah.
but whatever. The thing that I didn't understand is, like, before they had done the, it was when they went to Mars and the professor was up for the award or something, and Captain Muskie came out in the box, and it was Captain Muskie instead of Commander Pike or whatever from. Do you know?
Like
where
giving
he's in the box, you just saw his head. And he's like beep 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 beep. But then they bring out Fry in that box too. Like I thought the reason that Muskie was in it was because he was completely incapacitated and comatose, and then he's in that box and communicates through his beepings.
Right. Kind of like a Stephen Hawking type thing.
Yeah, but then this is like Fry, and they're just like get in the box and use the beeps. So could Muskie actually like talk?
No, I think that was the whole thing. I think this joke. I don't think they remembered using that joke probably for using this. Like,
all right,
because it also is a thing where it's like Fry's in that thing, so you think you're like, oh,
what
maybe
happened to him?
maybe he's because he's just like got his
Looks
mouth
all,
gaping
like,
open and
like he had a stroke and he can't like he's comatose or something. His mouth is all.
I thought that was a really funny gag though, how they did that, because it made it seem like something happened to him, and then he gets out of the box and he's fine. And then the next person goes in the box and starts using Morse code anyway.
Yeah.
With
the
foot
Leela's
though.
got the foot pedal.
Use the beeps.
Use the beeps.
So
One beep for yes, two beeps for no.
So like
Double
so
yes, guilty.
Did Fry do then they started the flashbacks immediately then, because Fry started talking about what had happened, and it was like, oh, the professor said he's going to take a quick nap so we have time to watch six movies.
So did you look at the
he's not even in this episode.
The professor?
Yeah.
Like just like the last one.
He's taking a nap.
For 6 whole movies.
He is always in his pajamas.
The movies that were on the shelf at Rent-A-Wreck Video were Galaxy Wars, Werewolf Dog, Pippi Longtentacles, Stephen King's The Bellyachers.
Oh, I didn't see. Okay, so
Yawning.
I saw the yawning. I saw the Bellyachers. I didn't know it was Stephen King's.
Planet of the Clams.
Moonmen from Mars.
And
I thought it was Galaxy Chimps.
No,
was Galaxy Wars like another one?
It may have been. I was pausing it and starting it back up again, trying to catch all of them. There was one that was on the wall after Fry says the forbidden words Star Trek.
Yeah.
That I couldn't read. I couldn't make that one out.
You know what? 6 movies average out to be really
really
good.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, that's true about so many things. Like you could take like the whole thing and kind of even it out to where it's like, well, yeah, the first 2 are really good, and the third one is, like,
Just like one of many jabs at Star Trek throughout the entire episode. It was like,
There's a
kinda
lot
like-
of tiny references to Star Trek. Just all over this episode.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's all like nerddom love.
Yeah.
I get that, but I'm like.
So I'm glad you picked this one to have me at, because I literally know nothing about Star Trek at all.
Well, but that's the whole thing. Like, I mean, as we established early on in the course of this particular podcast, like, I am not a fan of Star Trek and not really ever have been, but I know enough about it to have caught a lot of those references too. And some of that's from, learning and fun on this show, but a lot of it is pretty like, like the, we'll get there.
I don't have a vast knowledge of Star Trek.
I know
either.
enough.
You
but,
know enough.
I mean,
You've caught some references.
we used to
in
have somebody
past
that
episodes.
knew a lot.
Yeah.
He did. Shouldn't have worn that red shirt.
Whoops.
This was better saying at the video store.
I see what you
Let's record
did
over
there.
these 6 Jim Carrey movies.
So do you think there are 6 new Jim Carrey movies? Do you think it's Jim Carrey's head in a jar, or do you think it's like 1,000-year-old Jim Carrey movies from.
A mixture of both,
Yes.
probably.
Yes.
I think maybe 3 or 4 are
Would they remake
probably
The
like
Mask with
no.
Jim Carrey's head?
They wouldn't. They wouldn't remake. Jim Carrey wouldn't do remakes, and he kind of hates doing sequels.
but with
well, he
Jim
doesn't do.
Carrey's
He like.
head.
Have you seen him in the news lately? Like, do you know what's going on with current day Jim Carrey right now? He's like off
Crazy?
his shit.
Yeah.
He just don't give a crap, man.
He's
does not
going
care.
for like this whole Zen master thing, but it's hard to tell if it's actually like, is he a Zen master or is he like just fucking super depressed? Because didn't his girlfriend committed suicide like last year or earlier this year?
Yeah.
Well, also, how traumatic do you think it would be to date Jenny McCarthy?
He was a
That's
part of that
gotta-
whole anti-vax thing with her too.
Yeah. I mean, I think she's probably a very exhausting person to be around, just existentially.
Yeah,
that-
I used to enjoy her in the 90s when I was a kid because she was like a funny pretty girl who made fart jokes and booger jokes.
I used to have a poster of her on my wall when I was younger.
What state of undress was she in the poster?
She was
Tom?
in a bikini.
Was it silver?
No, it was black bikini.
There's a silver one out there. I can see it now. I remember.
There's
from,
several of
from
them.
8th grade.
Was that the Farrah Fawcett poster of the late 90s?
It might have been.
Just thinking, how did she get into
There
those
was.
pants?
I remember going to like I don't know, whatever that Sam Goody, not Sam Goody. It was like Suncoast, or there was at the
Coconuts.
mall.
Yeah.
Like and you just flip through posters, and there were
I had a poster of
a lot of
Poison.
Jenny McCarthy.
Did you take it
ones.
down and put up a poster of Carmen Electra when she took over? For
No.
I just had a picture of Poison, and they were pretty too.
Prettier than Jenny McCarthy, some may say.
At this point, probably. I mean, like, who do you think aged better, Ricky Rocket or Jenny McCarthy? Probably Ricky Rocket.
yeah.
He's been vegan forever. He stays fit. Knows how to contour.
He's got his own drum line.
Sure.
Yeah, he's-
Ricky Rock, the Rocket Drum Works.
The whole thing about that video store, it was so quaint, and like I remember, I'm sure we all spent a lot of time in video stores because it was a thing that is not a thing anymore, and there hasn't been something like this in a while on Futurama where it was like they're projecting into the future from current day when they're making it, and technology has just like completely sidestepped the whole thing where something's become obsolete.
Yeah.
And there's no way they could have predicted that, or they're just wrong. But maybe I'm wrong in making this point because apparently now, like, the hipstery thing that's happening, like Alamo Draft House is starting to create video stores that you can go back and rent videos from now. So it is becoming like a vinyl-y niche sort of thing. But
Interesting.
You know, I created Netflix.
Did you?
Yeah, I invented it. One day I was sitting and going, I wish I could just find all kinds of movies on like a streaming
You
service.
didn't patent it. Your typical
Yeah.
typical roulette.
I didn't.
I just get the whole thing about video stores or the whole thing about record stores or whatever. Like, I just get anxious when I walk into a place. It's like, oh, here's literally
Yep.
100,000 choices for you to have to pour through and feel like you can't just look at some of it.
I remember when I would go to the used CD and game exchange store with my dad as a young kid and as a teenager, and man, we would have to look at like every single thing in the store, every game, every CD, even like the cassette tapes, like those were still a thing at the time. Like
Where was that at?
it was in Columbus.
but where?
On Morse Road, there was a like Mr. Hero sub place
Yeah.
next to it, and
No, I know exactly what you're talking about.
yeah, that was close to where I grew up.
I mean, that was the thing at that time. Down on the like main area of High Street, there were like a dozen really good record shops that were all used because it was like college
Yeah.
kids, like beer money, and every week there'd be like, especially at the semester turnover, it'd just be like, here's 100 CDs because I need $20. Like, so you could find all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I think Used Kids is still
It's still
they're
there.
still popular. My friend Jen runs it. I think Magnolia Thunder Pussy is still open, but I haven't checked in on
I
that
think
in
they
quite a while.
moved. Like those stores are still. Neither of them are where they were back then. They've both moved
Yeah.
into different spaces. I think Magnolia Thunder Pussy's like in a whole other neighborhood.
That is a crazy name for a
It was a
record
crazy
store.
record store.
Yep.
They were great. There's a lot of great stuff, and now it's all been replaced with like Trader Joe's and
I don't
AMC
go.
movie theaters.
I don't go in that area anymore.
A record store in Toledo went out of business this last year.
It's
A
the
family-owned,
the or a.
I think it was Allied Records, or one of them. There's like 2 record stores in Toledo.
Can you still
No,
buy
there's
a
one.
dirty Euro somewhere around there? Like, because that's the key. Once that stuff starts getting pushed out, then
Toledo is an interesting place. I'll just say that.
Are you sure you understand what the word interesting is?
It's like different. Like you get into it, and it's like there's stuff in Toledo that doesn't really exist in other places.
And
It's just-
I could say Tony Paco's, and I just did, but that's like the obvious one.
I'm not saying like good things. I'm saying like different things. Like they're very. There's like. I mean, there's Del Tacos there. Like, where the hell?
Yeah, why?
Is there
Really?
I don't understand. Yeah,
I
there's
thought
like
that was like a West Coast
exactly,
thing.
but there's Del
The hell?
Tacos in Toledo, or there.
That doesn't make any sense.
No, that's what I'm saying.
All right.
There we
I
go.
tried. There's just one anomaly of Toledo.
Okay, let's pause and take a road trip. So the whole backstory, they kind of glossed over it. Like with Star Trek becoming forbidden, the part that I didn't really understand is like, okay, there's the Church of Trek that happens when the Trekkies, what do they say? It was no longer a loose federation of nerds with skin problems. It was a full-blown religion.
The sci-fi religion that doesn't take all your money.
I like how all the Star Wars fans went over to Star Trek at the Star Wars Trek.
Yeah.
Like Star Wars
And
Trek
the
would be
Star
a really
Trek
cool
Wars.
band name. You could dress up like Star Wars and Star Trek characters and mix it in.
God, you'd get so much nerd rage thrown at you.
Yeah.
But then again, you'd
Or
probably
nerd
be
fans.
wildly successful, like Max Sabbath and all.
You're welcome, whoever's listening to this. And hearing
Do
that.
you want to be? Oh, that's a whole other conversation. I don't even think I have the energy for it today, which is rare. There was when they were leaving after Fry said the forbidden words Star Trek, Bender shoves him into the chest cavity and he makes it expand. So again, they're playing fast and loose with the actual physics of his thing. But then Bender said that like they hear the police sirens and he's like, "Oh, it's car 718. Let's get out of here." Is there something like is 718 a reference to something?
I don't know.
I thought that was just the car that
Smitty
and Earl are in.
Okay, I never heard it mentioned before, and of course they show up. But then with all of the other like super referential stuff in this episode, like no idea. But I was surprised, and it was really George Takei that interjected then. But so why did they start executing the Trekkies? Like that was the part that I didn't. Maybe I just missed it.
Just like the virgins they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think they just
It was
got
just banished as a religion.
It just
yeah,
like,
they got too
backlash.
big. It got too big, and I did like when they showed the Trekkies in the Church of Trek. They all said, "All power to the engines."
It's
Haha.
I like that.
former guest.
He's dead, Jim.
A former guest and we'll say friend of the show, Dan Holohan, when he got married, he and his wife's like call and response for the congregation was "So Say We All." I know, okay, I know it's Battlestar Galactica. I was just making the analogy.
Yes, I get
but
it. I'm
yeah,
not gonna.
it was-
Yes, I know. Understand.
I
what
just
you were
want
getting at.
people to understand. Like I know there's a difference between BSG and Star Trek, but like that kind of thing, it's always nice. It sounds really good in church, actually. Like so say we all. I feel more comfortable saying that than a lot of the other stuff they want you to do. With all the pieces and the lambs and the other things, it's all very bloody. But that is like okay. So there's never that explanation for it. It's just that the church became too big.
Yeah, it was banished.
They killed everybody, and then they banished the source material of the 79 original episodes and 6 movies off. But then they didn't include apparently the Next Generation or any of that stuff, which also seems weird, right?
Because Star Trek fans, a lot of them, it's like the original series. That's like a specific thing for them.
Okay.
I get it.
Like, it's all the same universe.
That's a valid question. You'd think that they would all have been banished, every trace of Star Trek anything.
And by this point, I think it's 2002, so there's been the Next Generation for sure. And then even maybe Deep Space Nine.
Oh, yeah. And then when was the one with the Quantum Leap guy? Because that was another one.
That was later 2000s.
Okay, and that was the one with, like, the Bon Jovi theme song?
Yes.
Okay.
So, like, if you guys were going to do the same thing with, like, Saved by the Bell, would you include Saved by the Bell the college years? Is that kind of like a good analogy?
No,
for
I would
this, or is
stop.
that-
It would be Saved by the Bell. There would not be
like
Saved by the
college
Bell
years
New
of my
Class. There would not be Saved by the Bell College Years. There would not be the movie Las Vegas movie. There would not be.
Well, I don't think we should claim expertise on that because there actually was a podcast called, like, Hello Bayside that April Richardson did.
Yeah.
That was the same format of going through episode by episode. I don't know what they treated as canon and not canon. I mean, the trouble that you run into doing a show like this is eventually you run out of source material. We're about 60 episodes away from that problem.
Or you just quit.
Yeah, you just go,
Let's make it through the whole
was
thing.
it
I'll be impressed.
The Frasier, God, was it? What was the Frasier podcast that Kevin Smith and Matt Myra did? I think it was just called like
tossed
salads and scrambled eggs. I'm pretty sure that's what it was called. But they did I think they got up to like season 2, and like 80% of the time they were just talking about Batman and not even like Frasier's on in the background. And then they just stopped releasing episodes.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing Kevin Smith doesn't have a problem with is content generation. So if it isn't about Frasier, it's going to be about some other thing. There was something. Oh, so I'm trying to think of the point I was looking at here, but it comes later. I'm jumping ahead. There was a crack that Bender makes about being prematurely canceled.
I think it was Zap. He says, another sci-fi show canceled before its time. Never heard of such a brutal and shocking injustice I've cared so little about.
Yeah, that was definitely Zap.
Yeah.
But I thought it was I thought that Zap was referring to the Trekkies being executed. But Bender said something about it being a tragedy where, about another sci-fi show being prematurely canceled.
Mm-hmm.
They hadn't been canceled yet, right?
I don't think so. I think
it's the end of this season.
I think
was
maybe
the end
they
of the
knew
first
that they
run.
weren't getting renewed at this point. Because this one, it's season 4, episode 11 production, and season 4, episode 12, which is the I think second to last, or maybe the last episode of season 4.
Okay.
Before production season 4 turns into
The
season 5 broadcast.
Season 5. Okay. It's all. I wondered if he was like trying to refer to something else, but like, it was that's one of those things where there's these references and they don't really resolve all the time.
I think maybe they did know that they weren't being renewed. I think this was at the point where maybe they'd made the rest of, or had plans to make the rest of production season 4, because I think production season 5 is when the movie started.
Yeah.
So they must have known or had some kind of hint that like, hey, you get the rest of this production season and then you're done.
So they just went into fuck it mode.
Probably.
Okay. I can get behind that.
That's what I'm gonna say.
So at that point, I think it was around this point in the episode where like it became really apparent that it was like these are all the actual voice actors, but they kept showing DeForest Kelly's head. But he never spoke. And I was wondering, like, why is he, like, the holdout? Was he dead already? When did he die?
Who?
Bones. DeForest Kelly.
The only person that didn't get where it was Scotty.
No. DeForest Kelly was not. His head was there. Oh, he died in 1999. Okay. That answers that question. I probably could have looked that up before the show started. Bones.
Yes. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yes. I think his head was there, though.
His head was there.
Yeah.
And James Doohan.
He just didn't want to do it.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. So this is the
So I got Welshie.
Well, she.
when Fry goes to see Nimoy, and I came as soon as I heard about what happened centuries ago. And it's just
I like when they pull.
You know,
also-
79 episode, about 30 good ones.
yeah, which is fair. I mean, like
Thanks,
it's
Jad.
still a pretty good run. That's a little almost half back, and with 3 networks, like that was solid for back then. I think like. How many good episodes of I Love Lucy were there versus the entire production?
All of them.
All
Yeah.
of them?
They're all
Are
good.
you sure? Or are they
Yeah.
all kind of the same story over and over and over again?
Ricky, I want to be on the show.
Oh.
Just did it, man. Like All in the Family. Those are all good.
Yeah.
I mean, if you like
All right.
casual racism and bigots getting their comeuppance on a weekly basis, they sure are. Which
Sally,
who doesn't
poor
like that?
Sally Struthers.
Now I'm trying to think of a TV show that has every episode is good.
Seinfeld.
Eh, some of those early ones were a little, like it took a while for it to
I
hit the
got
stride.
nothing.
Well, yeah, like
It's impossible to.
Yeah,
to
there's
have that
no
many-
there's no such thing as a
You know what? Every
television
episode is
show
good
or-
of a series. Firefly. How about that? Because it's like one season.
Well, that's the trick to it, because when you have a limited run, you can pace it properly, and you can instead of just going, "Oh shit, we got to write another half-hour story," you can be like, "Here's a 10-hour story that we're going to break into increments," and then, you can even like you get the lulls and the valleys to just kind of like let people rest and
I
not
hope
be shocked
Disney-
every time.
At least does something with Firefly now that they own it.
I don't think they will.
I think it'd be cool. A little Firefly place at Disney World or Disneyland.
It's just what it is.
Firefly ride.
No, they kick you out a hidden back gate, and there's a bunch of crazed meth heads that think they're Reavers, and that's the Disney ride.
Oh, that's
For
terrible.
Firefly, it's just like tweaked out crank.
No, they'll open it.
Crankers.
They'll open it, and then no one will go, so they'll close it down after 1 week.
And blow out all the merchandise. No one's buying these dusters.
Could you imagine buying a duster like Disney World or something? Hey, sick
Look.
duster.
You know what? I was just at Disney adjacent not too long ago, and I can because it's like this is. I didn't go into the parks. I was there for work and was just sort of like close to it. But there's the Disney Springs area, which is like there's Disney stuff going on, but then there's like a Uniqlo there too, and like a Lego store and shit. And but then it's I don't know. It's just
Shh, don't say anything bad about Disney.
anything you want.
They own Futurama now.
I know. Just anything you want is there. But it's mostly stuff that I'd never want in my life. And that's really, I mean,
I
that's
get it.
kind of the rest of the world at large generally. But that whole exchange with Nimoy, he's just playing dumb. He's like,
Maybe you're thinking about my one-man show about Vincent Van Spock. I mean,
I like when he pulls the head off. Jonathan Frakes comes down.
yeah. And he's all ready to go. And it was his real voice too. So that's what I mean. Like, they have, if Star Trek is completely forbidden, in the head museum, they have them in a taxonomy of here's the first mate, here's the second first mate, and it both relates to Star Trek. But that's it just, somebody's going to say cartoon logic, but it seems like it's just lazy.
maybe they just got shot off to a different Omega planet. Maybe it's Omega 6.
And it was maybe. And also, like, I think it was just a thing to have Jonathan Frakes in it.
Get excited.
And to have a voice.
And they're right next to Joan Jett, too.
I didn't notice that.
Well, I don't think they ever showed it, but I think on a previous episode in the head, and you could kind of see, like, the shag haircut right next to him and stuff. Like, I think they reuse those same sets or the backgrounds. You know, they're not doing too. It's like when in the background you can see like Pamela Anderson's head and like other people. And Teddy
yeah.
Roosevelt was right below him.
When he's telling the story, when Leonard Nimoy's telling the story to Fry about what happened, I really like how when the heads go in the spaceship, they like go up. It was like very
Yeah.
logical
Shoved in.
and like
Logical.
it was real. Like
Yeah.
that's what would happen. I don't know why I just really
It was like
that.
loading a cartridge of bullets or something, or a
Yes.
Pez dispenser. It was like sliding them in from the bottom. And then
Well, Spock just signed a 6-month lease. It's a commitment that he can't. he can't break.
How many times I've heard that excuse for various reasons.
Oh yeah, it's you know.
I just signed a 6-month lease.
You know what
I'd be
though?
a roommate, but I just had a lease.
Those lease breaking fees are a bitch though. Like they will rake you over the coals on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's almost better to try to keep it and just pay for it.
Yeah,
You have to.
I think you can give like a 60-day notice or 30 to 60 days and you forfeit your security deposit.
It depends though.
Legally.
Some will just be like, no, we're not going to let you break it.
It's the
You
law,
could-
though.
you could-
It's Ohio code. I mean,
You could stop paying. They'll just send you to collections and say like, yeah.
I don't know what the new New York rental code is. But
But it could be. I mean, it could be enforced by death for all you know. Like if you're a head. But then again, this would be before his head was in the head museum. So why would he even need a place to live anyway? It's not like he clocks out at the end of the night and goes home.
Maybe, I mean, they do live somewhere. It's probably like a small house that his head fits in.
Who had one of those? That was in an episode before.
This probably has been in an episode, yeah.
There was
where
someone's
they live.
house.
Oh,
that
it was
had- Was it Nixon or something?
no, Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
When they were on, doing the tour of Hollywood. Yeah, so there you go. He's something like that.
All right,
He signed a 6-month leave on
That's
that.
fair. This Fry had one of the favorite lines I've ever heard in this or any other show, and I need to remember it now. I'm literally angry with rage. Did you
Yeah.
just see him like just compressed and be so mad? But you know the whole thing about it, like it's important because it gives people hope, and it made him feel like he had friends, which I think is really the basis for all internet communities at this point.
Star Trek was his hope for the future, but it's set 800 years in the past.
It's who says forbidden schmirschmidden? Is that Nimoy or
I don't remember.
I don't know.
I don't remember.
I had to write it down because it was a really good
Wasn't that when,
schmirschmidden. I think it was Fry that
the
said it.
robot?
'Cause they're just trying, like
Was it
he's like,
Bender?
oh, we should go, and then they all get on board and they're ready to like go.
Let's just start
do
naming
it.
characters.
Zoidberg wasn't in this, was he?
No.
And neither was
Nope.
Amy. I don't
And
think.
Amy, nor Hermes.
Wasn't it Bender? Because he was saying how he wasn't afraid, and then as soon as they started like tanking down into the planet, he like freaked out.
Oh.
He made that weird noise. Like
That maybe that's it. That's the problem. Is like that stuff. It just comes and it goes. It doesn't stick in your head. But then you write it down, and it all becomes context free. So the Welshie thing. Once they crash on the planet and see the rejuvenated cast with full bodies, except for Scotty, and even I mean Bones was there too. Obviously not in person because he was dead, but just like with everyone being ready, the excuse they made about the that they had done some musical,
Musical reunions in
Yeah.
the 2200s.
which is I think that was a crack at the Brady Bunch because they had done like so there's like the Brady Bunch, the original series, but then in the late 70s they did like a Brady like variety hour.
Oh, yeah.
And at some point, it was either Jan or Cindy got swapped out because they were just like, nah, I'm not doing that. And they like brought in like fake Cindy.
I don't
They
remember.
did all the singing and dancing moves and everything. And it was everybody except for that. And just like, oh yeah, like they do on soap operas. And they're like, and today, you know,
Yeah,
as of
I'm sure
now,
I
the part
watched
of
it,
such and
but-
such is paid by this.
I don't remember because I was a child.
I don't think it was terribly successful.
Kind of like how they swapped out Becky's and Roseanne.
Exactly like that. Exactly like that. And then like there were these other.
It's funny you mentioned Roseanne though, because somebody said they're rehashing Roseanne,
Uh-huh.
and there's both Beckys are in it.
Yeah.
They are.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's all
somehow
I
they're
heard. I have
gonna,
no
Yeah.
idea.
they're gonna do
Sarah
something
Chalk's
with
going to
it.
be somebody else. She's not going to be Becky because she was the second Becky.
Yeah.
And then first Becky came back. I can't remember her name. It's like Liesel or Lacey something. I don't remember what it is, but she's hasn't
Not
been in
important.
anything but Roseanne.
Lacey Underall.
She like left to like take care of her like sick mom or something like that, or that's why she couldn't do it.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe just being around Roseanne and Tom Arnold is a little much. I mean, are they bringing back John Goodman? Because didn't he die?
I mean, he's alive, isn't
Didn't
he?
Joss
Yeah.
Whedon
On the
write for that
show, on the
too?
show.
Yeah.
On the show,
At the
he
end
died?
of at the
thought
end
so.
of Roseanne, the whole
I
last
haven't seen
season
it.
was
Thanks a
like a
lot.
dream.
Spoilers.
Spoilers from the 90s. In Roseanne, Dan has a heart attack at the end of the second to last season. Then the next season has all kinds of crazy, weird shit in it. And at
Were
the
they, like,
end
the
of
lottery
like the
or
series,
something?
yeah, they win the lottery. And the series
saw
finale,
that.
you realize that it's revealed that the whole last season was just like a book that Roseanne was writing about how it could have been different if he hadn't died in the episode where he had a heart attack like the season before.
And he also liked the fact that David ended up with Becky, and his brother ended up with Darlene, and it was actually Jackie that was gay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was like all kinds of
they
like,
just mixed it all up.
yeah,
Yeah.
Now-
it was like her vision of what how she wanted things
Like,
to be.
I think Roseanne's in real life, Roseanne's sister and brother are both gay. So I think she's very big into LGBTQ stuff
Yeah,
and
she-
representation in television and comedy. So
I mean, the thing about Roseanne is like, she's obviously batshit crazy, but that doesn't mean that all of her ideas are bad.
yeah.
I mean, and that's where you have to just temper it, where it's just like, I don't disagree with her, but she also married Tom Arnold.
They had the first gay wedding on Roseanne on TV.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
wouldn't surprise me at all. And I think, wasn't Norm Macdonald a writer for them? And like, they had a
I think
pretty...
so. They had different writers every season, though. They had a hard
Yeah.
time getting along on that
I-
show with Roseanne and Tom Arnold.
I wonder why.
It was
Could you imagine?
what's his name? I can't think of it. The actor who plays the guy who owns their diner. He was gay. I can't think of his name.
Oh, Martin Mull.
Yes,
Yes.
Martin Mull. That was the gay wedding
Right.
that you were talking about. It
Yeah.
was him getting married on the show.
I love
Yeah.
that show.
The one thing, and I love this, when they did find the cast and they're introducing Welshie as like the scab replacement for Scotty, and Fry sees, oh God, Chekhov, and he's like, say it in Russian.
Now say nuclear wessels.
No. And it's like adding the accent to it to make it like that was. I mean, it was a really cosmopolitan cast they had on the original Enterprise.
How many of them are still alive?
Now
Yeah, William Shatner.
Shatner and Uhura, right? Or did Nichelle
I
Nichols
think
die?
Nichelle Nichols.
I think she's still alive unless she recently died.
I thought maybe I'm thinking of somebody else.
I think Walter Koenig's still alive. God, this is going to be a really depressing Wikipedia entry.
Yeah, Nichelle Nichols is still alive. She was
Okay.
born in 1932.
Wow.
Shatner's still alive. Takei's still alive.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of William Shatner being alive, I didn't really meet William Shatner, but I have been within proximity,
What does he smell
very
like?
close proximity of William Shatner. So it's actually kind of funny, and it'll come up later on in the episode, but when I was within close proximity of William Shatner, I used to compete like horseback riding, and he owns and competes the same style and breed that I did. So one year when I was in high school, I went to the World Championships in Louisville, Kentucky, and he was there showing, and he had just shown his horse.
Yeah.
and it was the end of the night, and everybody was leaving, and he was walking in the hallway going out of the Coliseum, and I was like closer than you and I are now, walking next to William Shatner out of the Coliseum, and he's still got his, like, he's sweaty, he has his show clothes on, like, because you have to dress up and wear certain stuff. He's got his riding boots in his hand, and he's got them tied together, like the laces are tied together, and he swings one over his shoulder, just whacks me right in the like right in the chest, like nearly misses my face, doesn't even notice that he's hit someone. And then of course, like when I walked out, I was like, William Shatner just hit me with his boot. Oh my God.
It's you. There is probably a not insignificant number of people that have, like, that's their particular sexual fetish, that they fantasize
William
their
Shatner
entire,
hit me with his
Getting hit
boot.
with a boot.
He hit me with a boot. So yeah, I guess he probably didn't smell great then, but what does he smell like?
I don't remember. I was like 16 or 17.
I
What
imagine,
does the inside of
like-
that boot smell like?
I imagine George Takei smells just divine.
Probably.
You know, Shatner probably has like a nice cologne, but probably wears too much of it.
Probably.
Just
He just seems sweaty to me. Like,
look,
he's
I'm sweaty.
overweight, like kind of
Right.
older guy. He's probably just sweating
You're
all the
talking
time.
about me.
But you're not. You're not in your 60s or 70s or however
I
old
might
he is,
be.
man.
Yeah.
This could be a tube.
It's a real fine piece you
You're
got
not
there.
sweating all the time. You're not like
Well,
pouring
it's-
sweat
it
from
is
your face. And,
12 degrees outside. My furnace can't keep up, so it's
He's like bloated. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're not bloated.
give
Come
me-
on,
give-
give yourself
give-
some more credit.
give me a couple hours. I think about that sometimes. You see what people look like when they're famous or they're singers. You know what they sound like, but like,
His face
I
is
wonder
bright
what
red
they
all the
smell
time.
like.
Like hypertension.
you know, what do these celebrities smell like?
Ron Jeremy,
Ugh.
He probably smells like
a rock star.
BO and bleach, and which isn't bleach. It's just semen smelling like bleach, and then like.
Bleached semen.
Yeah, and then like
whiter than white.
like cologne, like again, too much cologne, but like a shitty kind of repulsive one.
Yeah, to try and cover it up, but like
Yeah.
really not doing a good
But
job.
I mean, not even somebody like that gross. Like, what do you think John
Oh.
Hamm smells like?
John Hamm probably smells really good.
Like a ham.
Yeah.
Like a ham, like a honey baked
Like
ham.
a honey baked ham. John honey baked ham.
If we could go off on a little tangent about this, I have a little story. So, like
Oh.
other, like like that guy, what Ron
Let me get
Jeremy
my
might smell like,
editing pen.
because these guys go around just like rock stars. They
Yeah.
go around on tour and they just like skip the showers and whatever. I was told a story about CC DeVille, and from another famous-ish 80s rock guy.
Yeah.
And he was telling me about how he was on a tour with CeCe, and they were like the top billing. They were like the king. He was like the king of the tour, and he wouldn't take a shower for like over a month. He wouldn't take a shower, and he just smelled like terrible. And everyone was just like, "Dude, you gotta take a shower." And he just screw you, he's just like coked up, all running around and being a complete asshole and whatever. But they finally, because everyone was afraid to say anything to him because you could get fired off the tour. He was
Right.
like the top guy, and if he didn't want to take a shower, he's gonna have to deal with it. So they end up like cornering him in a room, like 5 guys, and they somehow like blackmail, like, we're not letting you out of this room until you take a shower. They literally had to all like mutiny against him. Like, fine, gotta take a fucking shower. Like,
I mean, you know what? They should have gotten a fire hose. And the fact that they didn't shows that these guys don't have any imagination and they're not real problem solvers.
right?
Was it, okay, so can I make guesses as to who this person is?
That told me the story.
Yeah.
Go. Yeah, sure.
We'll do it like 20 questions.
Okay. All
Are
right.
they a renowned musician in Cleveland?
No.
Okay.
Well, I mean, people in Cleveland know who they are, but he's not from Cleveland.
I think I
Okay.
know who it is.
Okay.
I'm almost positive.
Then
I know who it is.
I'll stop. It's not who I thought it was.
Did you think it was Janie?
No.
Janie Lane. Okay.
No,
Jane-
no, because he's dead.
Right.
Um,
I'm sorry. Never mind. I knew Janie, but that's the reason
No,
why I
I-
know this guy. But
I remember when he was
I
cooking
absolutely know
at
who
the
it
Blind
is.
Lemon, and his chicken wings were really good. Him and Chef Jeff had a whole thing going.
yeah,
It was good.
he can cook for sure.
No, but it was. Let's say it was someone that's been in his band.
Right. No, he's not the one that told me the story, but he is the reason why I know all these people.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Anyway,
When I met Gene Simmons, he had a booger in his nose.
Probably on
like a big
purpose.
giant booger hanging out of his nose, and his glasses were all smudged up, and he had a dirty Band-Aid on his finger.
Who were you thinking of?
Who was I thinking
Yeah.
of that told you the story?
Yeah.
Sack?
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't Zach?
No.
And I know who you're talking about,
Right.
but I don't know him personally. Yeah, we don't need to go. There's been a surprising number of references to Poison on this particular episode.
Yeah. It's funny.
So I guess the cast is super happy because they've been given their bodies back and they never age and everything they want is provided for them, which sounds pretty great. But then the cloud, who has yet to reveal itself as Melvar with 3 L's, kills Welshie seemingly pretty like
Well,
arbitrarily. It's like, no.
I am Melvar, seer of the
Welshie-
tapes,
Was
knower of
Welshie
the
wearing
episodes.
a red shirt?
Yeah, Welshie had
He
a red shirt on.
was.
So you knew that was coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And I've seen the memes float around with Welshie, so I figured that was gonna happen. But just it seems pretty cruel. Like Melvar really, that was just mean. But the fact that he brought them all there just to have his own little Trek fest forever seems really indulgent. I mean,
Signed it out to Melvar, 3 L's. I've been to enough conventions. I know how to spell Melvar.
I love the fact that because I brought you here so I can have Trek Fest, 3002 or whatever. And Bender goes, "Can people who hate Star Trek leave?"
This is my favorite.
No, stay longer.
Walter Koenig's like, "Good question." Because that's what I love is like the people that had. I don't know if he ever came around to, like George is clearly just, and Shatner too, and I think Nimoy eventually all kind of came around to it to like make peace with the legacy of it after seeing
Like
how
Janie with
important it
cherry
was.
pie.
Exactly. that fed a lot of single mothers' children. That particular song.
It did.
And it still is.
Yeah.
You know, that song probably gets played more on any given weekend in the United States than
His whole catalog just got sold off to someone for like $2 million or something.
that's
They're all fighting over the money now.
of course.
Of course, they
It's
have it.
about the art, man.
Yeah.
There was the Shatner singing the lounge version of
Slim Shady, the real
I'm
Slim Shady.
Slim Shady.
That's great
Yes,
too.
I'm the real Shady.
Is there
How do you do a spoken word version of a rap song? He found a way.
I like that. Have you ever listened to his late period albums? Because I know he did there's like Rocket Man from way back where it was just like, I don't
No,
give a fuck.
I've never
I'm
listened
famous.
to any of his.
But
hey,
he did.
Mr. Tambourine Man.
Well, yeah,
Play a
Shatner did
song
some stuff
for
like
me.
early 2000s or late 90s. That Ben Folds actually did the
Oh,
music for
yeah.
and produced.
That was more recent than that. That was like 2008, 2009. Yeah.
I mean, I know it from I think from Henry Rollins talking about doing the song with Shatner because
Yeah.
it's one of those things where like they're both just omnipresent personalities anymore. But you know, I can get behind that, as it were. Like, I love the fact that like I mean, you know, all things considered, William Shatner's had a really pretty tragic life. Like he had his wife, the one died by drowning in their pool. And this was recently, within the last 15 years or whatever. Like he had married this woman when he was in his 50s or 60s, which is like, you know, love of his life type thing. When it was just like, you know, and I guess she
Did not know that.
she might have had a few drinks or like prescription medication or something, but she jumped into a pool and I think she like hit her head and broke her neck
Oh man.
and drowned. And he found her, and then there was like 911 tapes and everything. It was just heartbreaking. And he's you know, apparently kind of coped and done all right, but like, you know, it's very much ups and downs for somebody who's been famous for that long. Like he seems to have come around to be a pretty nice guy, aside from the boot hitting incident. You know,
I mean, I enjoy the Priceline commercials.
yeah, just being able to kind of own your own ridiculousness at that point it's key. I think to prolonging yourself as a viable
I
personality.
have no problem with William Shatner whatsoever.
No.
What was that show that he had somewhat recently, not super recently? It was something like Father Knows Best or something about was it like Shit My Dad Says?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what it
yeah.
was.
Yeah,
I
and
think
he
it
was like the
Shit
the
My Dad
grandfather or
Said.
something.
Yeah. That was ridiculous. That whole show was like William Shatner playing William Shatner, but like not named William Shatner.
Yeah, I mean that was all based off of. I think that was based off a Twitter feed. Mm-hmm. So I mean,
It was a Twitter feed that turned into a book that
Yeah.
somehow got picked up as a TV show and then was immediately canceled.
I mean, because it was probably garbagey, but
Yeah.
but just his like, the same thing kind of happened with George Takei, where like they all distanced themselves from that shit for so long, and then especially, there was a thing with George where they would like just rag on him relentlessly on Howard Stern, and then eventually just like, no, I'm going to go on, and then he becomes this beloved cast member because he's just such a like
Because you just
positive
learn to,
guy.
I mean, it's not gonna go away. The more and more you fight it, and people are gonna get worse and worse with it.
Right. And
So,
and like Shatner apparently
just
was just such a dick.
deal
like,
with it.
early on was just
Yeah.
really an
Plus,
asshole.
You realize, like, plus they've held out for so long. They're probably making good money when it comes to like appearances.
Oh, appearances for
Like,
sure.
It's
It's I guess so. Well, it all culminates with the fan script, right?
Yeah.
That's really the.
They have the Fry versus Melvar showdown, and
with the
Melvar's
trivia.
buzzer is broken. Con!
I think that's just an excuse. He makes up all these excuses.
Yeah.
Buzzer's broken.
Trivia's over. And then he says something about, we're going to do a fan script written by the biggest Star Trek fan. And Fry goes, you have my fan script? He goes, no, me, Melvar. Melvar is the biggest Star Trek fan. And Fry goes, oh, I was confused because the scoreboard says something different.
I'm going to pit the crews against each other. I got the idea from episodes 19, 46, 56, and 77.
Don't you mean 66? I was getting to that one. You didn't let me finish.
I love when George Takei rips off his uniform and he's like all ripped.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because he is.
It's a
Like, he's
reference
a
to
runner,
an
I think.
episode.
Yeah.
Oh, well, and as soon as he announced it, like, Shatner ripped his shirt open. But it's just like the weird, like, hanging draped. Oh, fuck. What was I going to say? Oh, I can't remember. It was something to do with it, though. It wasn't even a tangent. It was like, yeah. Have you ever written a fan script for anything?
No.
I wrote an episode of Seinfeld in college for a college class.
Really?
Yeah.
What was the plot of your episode? I've never done anything like that.
I don't remember
Was
any.
it wasn't about anything in particular?
I honestly, I made it up like as I went along. I was like, oh, then Newman and Kramer do this, and then Jerry says this. And my my communications teacher thought it was like the greatest. She's like, this is so great. And then I lost it probably and never saw it again.
Larry David stole it.
That's too bad. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Use whatever weapons you can find.
I started to write this is before Scream 2 came out, was
Mm-hmm.
a sequel to the movie Scream.
Was it just a lot of people screaming?
No, it was just, I didn't even have it all planned out.
That's usually a good place
So,
to start with
yeah.
like an outline.
I was also, this was like 1996, 1997, so I was like 11, 12.
Wait,
So-
how did you see the first Scream movie then?
Because when it came out on video, I rented it.
Who rented you an R-rated video at 11?
My parents, they didn't
Oh,
care.
my God.
Yeah, man.
Every week, more and more becomes explained. it just sounds like poor parenting.
Mm-hmm. Still wasn't allowed to watch The Simpsons,
But
But
here's
I
this
could
gory
watch-
Was
movie.
fine.
a gory movie.
Watch Drew
Jeez.
Barrymore get mutilated. Nobody likes her.
It was because Bart called Homer and not Dad, and my dad was super afraid that I was going to start calling it. Like, he never wanted his kids to call him, like, by their first name and disrespect him.
The funny thing is, you can call him anything you want now.
I can.
You could make up new names.
I can't call him Pete. Actually, he died.
You could probably
Thanks.
you could refer to him as other names.
I know what you meant.
You could also probably still call his phone. I don't think anybody will pick up.
No, I have it. It's sitting in my. Actually, the thing is canceled, so it's not gonna. I have a cell phone sitting in my house.
There you go. You could call and just get a disconnected service number then.
It's a Note 7. No, I don't think so. Isn't that the one that blew up?
I don't
Would
remember.
blow.
I think so.
Where did we go? I don't even know where we went here.
We went well.
Oh, we were talking about fan scripts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never done that. I've never tried to
Right.
write something for I've never tried to write a song for someone else.
Did you ever write a song based on another person's work? Like a book or something like that, a movie?
Well,
or...
how much does stealing riffs and things count?
That doesn't
as?
count.
Okay.
I'm talking about
Then
like
no, I've never
what the song is about, like I don't know, like
I'm on the
Gaslight Anthem has a song that's about the Great Gatsby. Like that's what I mean.
I should no, I haven't.
Okay. But that's the first one I thought of.
I either write about things that happen to me or things that I make up that might be happening to me or to other people.
Yes.
But I try not to write in the first person because then it seems preachy.
Yeah, but you're very preachy as it is.
I know. I need to temper it. I got to keep those 5 fans around. Now that's not. I mean, actually, I've been in bands with other people playing songs they wrote about. Like Star Trek, in fact.
Right. Right. Yes.
Oh.
It all comes around.
Yeah. There is and actually we just played
Are there
it.
any
Yeah.
90s hip hop songs about Star Trek?
You know what? I just learn the words. I don't try to figure out their meaning or put them into context. I just memorize them and how they sound. And people are like, "Oh, what's that song about?" Hell if I know. I just sing the words.
The Humpty,
Don't
Humpty
try to-
Hump.
It's better if I don't think about it.
I know there's a Burger King involved. I'm not sure what he was doing there exactly, but it sounds like he was up to something.
Songs are about dancing and fucking and
Yeah,
that's pretty much it.
It's just like the songs in church. It's all the same thing. Fry's idea to string caterpillars together to make bowstrings for bows and arrows
So good.
was I'm so glad. I'm so glad that they followed that gag all the way through
when
and had
they-
him actually do it. Here goes. They all just like
Tying
attack him.
How do you tie caterpillars together? They're
Their
so
legs.
small.
They're tiny little legs. You can tie them together. You could human centipede the
Oh no!
But Bender finds the machine gun and shoots all the bullets out. It's like, okay, that was fun. Great.
That is another reference to Star Trek.
Was it?
Yeah, they I don't remember what. It's either a holodeck thing or they go back in time, but it's like they have like their gangsters and there's Tommy guns and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, that was all like the ghost town, like, Westworld type set too when they arrived on Melvar's planet. Was it? It was Omega 3, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Mhm.
But
Isn't that what you get from fish?
Yep,
And 6, omega
Yeah.
3s and 6,
they're good
the
acids,
fatty acids. Good for ya. Make your burps taste bad too.
like fishes.
Uh-huh.
Uhura has a fan dance to distract them. Which, do you think Nichelle Nichols actually was a fan dancer at some point?
I was gonna look into that, but then I didn't.
I mean, she was born in 32 or something. Was that?
She may have been.
Yeah.
It's
Which-
likely.
Leela and Shatner just beating the shit out of each other, which was great. And of course, they get down. That was, I mean,
Of course, it's Shatner, and she's an alien.
well, yeah.
Air quotes. She's a
And-
mutant, but
And this is young Shatner. Like, he was.
I like when he says something like, "There's no right way to hit a woman," and then she says, "Well, then do it the wrong way," or something like that.
Oh, it was good. But then I guess this is the point where it all takes a twisty turn as Melvar's mother calls him says it's time for dinner.
Mom, I'm playing with my collectibles.
Like, oh, he was just a child. He's no child. He's 34 years old.
Oh, that's how old I am now.
Making fun of everybody
You
now.
and Melvar.
I'm still playing with my collectibles.
In your parents' house.
It just
No, luckily not at a parent's house.
No. It's. I mean, your landlord, you kind of be considered a parent, right?
I guess.
He's just like, hey, boys, you're being kind of loud upstairs. Keep it
when
down.
they're all fighting, Shatner says, "Wasn't there an episode where I threw my shoe at the enemy?" And that's when I was like,
You were that enemy.
"That was me. I was the enemy. I didn't even know it."
But I love that they get the idea. We're like, oh, our engines work. Our engines don't work, but everything is so they like strap everything together. They work together, and then they just throw out their bodies. But that's the part I don't understand about the heads, because there wasn't any blood or anything. It's just like they throw them out and they're done.
It's just funny how they have to go back to like the way it was before. Like they're not going to get to keep their
Yeah,
bodies.
they all go
Right.
back to heads in jars, and then Fry says, "Look, we've got enough."
But we have enough room for the tape. All the tapes. Like
Did I guess that's there's no reason to think that this would even come out in any sort of reason. But like, do you think if they kept the bodies and left the planet, the farther they got away from Melvar, like that would fall off, or do you think those bodies would be viable? Like,
No,
clearly
I
there's
think they
some
would
sort
fall
of-
off.
They would just like once they exceeded his range of influence, they would just
Yeah.
become heads again.
But then I think it would be funnier if they really did. They were given good bodies and they'd be good from here on out, but they had to cut them off because they couldn't fit them. Like they finally like figured out like how
it's perfect.
to get their bodies back after all this time, and then they have to cut them off to get off there.
It seems like that would be good technology to bring back to Earth, because like Nixon had to have a robot body and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. That's the tragedy. That makes the joke funnier though. If
Well,
it-
it's
The
forbidden.
power
It's
of Omega
forbidden.
bodies.
keep them.
It's a forbidden planet.
Forbidden from ever going there. So you probably taking the technology could create types of war and all that stuff.
Probably we're
So
pretty good at that already.
When you were talking about when they were trying to figure out like the two ships had corresponding parts that would fit
Yeah.
together, and then Fry's like
Stop it, you two! You're talking.
stop it, you're talking around in circles. Like he almost like kills they're like onto it. They're about to like figure it out. And he's like, stop it. And then he's like, it's on me to figure this out. Like he's so important. I think that's kind of funny. Like he's screwing the whole operation up, but he thinks he's like the one that's got to figure it out.
I thought I had written this down, but it was the thing where he's like, they're going to attack Melvar, and this is when they get off the first time. And he's like, no, what you need to do is come up with a really complicated plan and then have someone else explain it using a really simple analogy.
Like a
You
balloon.
put too much air in a balloon. That makes so much sense.
yeah.
And then it doesn't work.
When
so
Melvar
simple.
draws power from their weapons, he
Yeah.
goes, "It's like a balloon when something bad happens."
Melvar comes after them, and those are like one of Khan's ships, right? Or was it a Klingon ship or
it
something?
was a Romulan bird of prey.
Okay.
And
That
you
was a
made me
toy.
take it out of the package.
It was in mint condition.
Just,
Everything's a collectible.
but they run into the Nimbus, and the Nimbus takes care. They zap and Kif board and court-martial
Well,
them.
turns out the whole time that while they were having court, they were still being attacked by Melvar.
Yeah, yeah, and it's just like you can't let a TV show become your whole life. They said to us who are scheduling at least one night a week around a TV show.
And all you had to put up with was one really annoying Star Trek fan.
Let's go.
Screw it.
After Star Trek, Walter Koenig became an actor and a well-rounded person. Like, that was just such a shitty low dig at him, because he seems like a nice enough guy, but like that'd be rough. You know, you get typecast that early on, especially as one of those background guys, because. And I should know this. I've watched To Be Decay and seen what happened to George afterwards, but like he didn't really act very much after. Like Shatner and Nimoy were kind of the only ones that had like higher profile things going on. I mean, Nimoy went searching for Bigfoot and Yetis and stuff like that, and then Shatner had T.J. Hooker and Emergency 911 and Shit My Dad Says and probably something else. Did you ever watch T.J. Hooker?
No.
I mean, it was like early 80s gritty primetime TV cop show. So there was a lot of like jumping across hoods.
Right.
But Heather Locklear was on it early on, probably pre-Tommy Lee. I think it might have been Danny Terrio, who hosted Dance Fever, might have been on there too. I'm not sure, but it was like pre-NYPD Blue, so it was more like Dragnet than anything else. But he was still like the puffed up cop. But like his hairpiece at that time was really intense. I think I recognize it from it ran from 82 to 86. Adrian Zemed. It wasn't Danny Terrio. It was Adrian Zemed, who I know that name because it was used as a punchline. But Nicole Eggert was on it from Charles in Charge and Baywatch later, I think. The Dream a Little Dream movies. The guy who looks like Kenny Rogers. Wow, this is just it goes and goes. It's pretty deep.
Kenny Rogers got that Bosley hair restoration.
Did he?
Really?
I mean,
they were showing. Yeah, they got pictures of him up.
It doesn't take away from his weird smooth face now.
Right. I just it's all it's white hair, white beard. Like it looks good.
He's a talented guy. At the end of the day, this episode kind of just dropped off into nothing. Like it was a really quick end, and I don't think there was a whole lot of meat to it. There was some funny gags, but it really just what is sort of like almost like a throwaway. You think?
I think there's a lot in it that could be like, not obviously for me, like not being a Star Trek person.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about Star Trek, and there's still a lot in it that makes it funny. It kind of stands on its own, whether you guys, all the stuff you guys have said about Star Trek, that I had all these references that I had no idea about, but there was funny things surrounding the entire thing, which made it funny anyway, even if you don't know anything about Star Trek.
Because they were kind of ridiculous to begin with. Like it was just, I think the jokes in the episode were solid. The story was kind of weak and thin. And they kind of got through that court-martial thing, and all of a sudden it was like, oh, and now we're done. Like
they ran out of time or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I didn't disenjoy watching it, but it wasn't like I'd categorize it as one of my favorites or something.
It is number 12 on IGN's
Really?
best Futurama episodes.
It's probably just nerd overlap. That's the referential humor is.
That's probably what it is. And like the whole Star Trek thing, that's what I think makes the episode. So, but I thought the end was funny of them having the pictures, because that is how like Star Trek ended.
Yeah.
And having the music.
Well, there's the one of Kif at the very end that was super weird. That was like an X-Files picture.
Yeah, it's I didn't get what it was, but it was it's called Ballock's Puppet, and it was like used at the end of some episodes of
Star Trek. Huh. What are your thoughts overall?
I don't know all that much about Star Trek. I'm not anti-Star Trek, but I don't get a lot of the deep references. So some of this, I think the whole episode was kind of like I don't know if I'd say it's fan service, but I mean, there's a lot of little tiny, like the Bender picking up the Tommy gun is like an episode. It's a reference to some really super specific episode. I know like almost every Futurama episode has a Star Trek reference in it.
Yeah.
So I think this was one where they were just kind of like, well, let's get them all out and really
let's clear the chamber.
Yeah, let's let's give one to the Trekkies.
And they got one.
Mm-hmm.
They got one good. Oh boy. Well, that brings us to the end, I think. Thanks for coming on the show, Bobby.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Got any shows to plug or anything?
Yeah, is there anywhere you'd like people to find you on the internet?
Your band's pages and
oldschoolcleveland.com. Old school with a K. SKOOL.
School.
Okay, because I was gonna say OLK.
No,
school.
not
All right.
old school.
You playing
Old.
anywhere in January that
Yeah.
the listeners should be aware of?
We play it. Yeah, just it's all on the website. I don't really.
It's probably
remember.
good because even if we stay with the schedule that we're on, this probably won't come out till mid-January anyway.
Yeah.
And then they'll be like, "Oh shit, I missed it," and we'll just laugh.
Yeah. It's on the. Well, we play like every weekend. It's all on the website. Check it out if you want.
Any other personal stuff for people to find you?
That's pretty much all I do.
Okay.
If you want to go skiing, call me during the week. I ski during the week. That's all I. Literally, all I do in the wintertime is go to my gigs and try to go con people into go skiing with me.
Oh, skiing is a lot of things that I really don't enjoy doing all together at the same time. Oh man, having to balance sliding on things very fast.
Mm-hmm.
I've never skied.
In
Me neither.
uncomfortable shoes.
I'm gonna ski.
I also hate the cold.
That's all
so.
true.
My New Year's
Uncomfortable pants.
resolution this year is I'm gonna ski.
Here's the thing. There's nothing you can feel like you're going faster on, and all that about the least amount of consequences. If you bite it going 40, 50 miles an hour on skis, like in the middle of a hill, your skis will fall off, and you get up, and you'll be fine. You'll be like, cool.
Tell that to Sonny.
I was
Bono.
just gonna say that. You just took the words right out of my mouth.
And
Wear helmets
wasn't
now.
Natasha Richardson one
Everybody
too?
goes back to Sonny Bono. I ski directly through the trees. Like if I see some woods somewhere on a hill, like I head directly into it. So
It is gonna be fucking terrible having to put like a eulogy at the beginning of this episode. Because, like tomorrow you go skiing and it's like, oh shit, he bonoed that shit.
Well, when Sonny Bono was alive, nobody wore helmets. Now everybody wears helmets. So, and when I hit the trees, I slow down to about 4 miles.
Just
an
have a
hour. So
chainsaw
it's
on
like-
top of your helmet. You just like zip
Just-
through.
no, that's a good idea.
or a terribly dangerous one.
Do you ever jump
They're
off
usually about the
ramps?
Same.
Yeah, it's like some ramps here and there.
What about moguls?
Moguls are awesome. I like moguls.
Do you
See,
have
moguls
like
are all through the trees.
Yeah.
There's tree mogul, so you
This is probably the roots, right?
they're just the people going in between the trees. You follow the tracks between the trees.
So there'd be like Russell Simmons and other moguls like him
Yeah,
under there.
Oh,
yeah, they're
God.
under there.
I tried.
We can be found at
Slurmcast.com. We can be emailed at slurmcastpod@gmail.com. Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. Twitter and Instagram are slurmcastpod. We're on Facebook. You can rate and review us in iTunes. You can call us.
216-438-10.
1077.
And you can send texts or other things to us that way too. The slurmcast.com also has links to our TeePublic shop where you can buy t-shirts of Fun Futurama and other cool things.
I'm gonna look into getting a better link. I think I said that last time, or I thought about it.
Well, it's weird because if you search for Slurmcast on TeePublic, nothing comes up.
Mm.
You have to actually go to our page and click the link to our
Yeah.
TeePublic store. So we'll figure that out.
Yeah, we just need to put it everywhere.
It's
We
like
should-
www. dot.
If you type it in wrong, there will be a window that says, "Congratulations, you've won a brand new Samsung Galaxy Note 8 or whatever it is."
$1,000 Walmart gift card.
Yeah, and then don't click
Or an
that.
iPhone X.
Don't click that link. Burn your computer if that comes up. I think that's it. We're into 2018 at this point when this comes out, right?
Probably.
Hopefully,
If-
we're all still alive.
Happy New Year, if it was a good New Year.
I think it will have been yesterday is New Year's Day when this comes out.
Or we'll just say there's a terrible tragedy
I
of
hope-
that thing that happened on that day before 2018. We will always
That
remember
guy
it.
that we liked who had that television show. Something happened with him.
Oh, that
What a shocker.
shit. That could really go a whole bunch of different
Hopefully
ways
the
anyway.
flooding has stopped.
Yes. All right. And on that note, have a good week. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Ah.